how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. I am bringing back my top 10 series. I usually do this once a year. In the past, I would do it in the summer. I don't know why, it just sort of happened that way. And I actually skipped it last year because I decided I wanted to start doing it at the beginning of the year, right after my like makeup collection and declutter series, because I feel like that just makes sense. I've given you guys a showcase of everything that I currently have, gotten rid of things that are either old or just aren't my preference, and now I can really hone in on what my top 10 are. I always get questions on what my top favorite things are for various categories, so I'm bringing it back. Now, I'm not gonna do this for every single category of makeup just because in some cases I don't have 10. Like I think with concealers, I only have like 3 or 4, for instance, but I am gonna hit on the most common asked ones, things like foundations. I'm gonna do my cream and powder blushes. I'm of course gonna do eyeshadow palettes. I'm gonna do various lip products, stuff like that. So just gonna give you a little peek into what my top 10 are. It's gonna be a mixture of new and old things in a lot of cases. Sometimes it's gonna be just a lot of top tier favorites that have stood the test of time. I will link everything that I can below, of course. Again, I don't know if every single thing I talk about in every single one of these videos is going to be available, but if it is available, I will link it for you. So yeah, for this video, I figured I would kick it off with foundation. It just seemed like a good place to start. And I have some top tier favorites, ones that have really stood the test of time for years and years, and I'm really excited to share them with you. Before we hop into the video itself, I did of course film this look. It should already be up on my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all that good stuff by the time this video goes up. As far as my accessories go, I just have little Amazon plugs, Primark earrings. This ring is from Mirren Grand. This ring is Ana Luisa, and I don't know where this ring is from. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop in and chat about my top 10 favorite foundations. So let me just give you a little rundown of my preferences, my skin type, all that kind of stuff. I have normal to dry skin. I do not like matte foundation at all. I do not tend to especially go for like a full coverage matte foundation. So if that's your thing, unfortunately, I'm gonna have no recommendations for you. But my personal preference is sheer to light as far as coverage goes. I will even go up to a medium as long as it's more of a buildable medium where it's not too intense. I actually do have one full coverage foundation in here, but it does have my personal favorite finish, which is a dewy finish. I love anything between like a satin to dewy finish. I do not like matte. It is just not my journey. I like something to at least have that like natural satiny kind of look, but I do love a very glowy, dewy foundation as well. I personally kind of switch between a sponge or a brush, just depending on my mood that day, or in some cases the type of product. If I am going to use a brush, it is always my Sigma F48. This is part of the Soft Sculpt line, and it is just the best foundation brush ever. As far as sponges go, I don't have one singular favorite. I like the ones from Juno & Co. I like the Salem Cosmetics ones. Singe and Freck both make ones that I really like. Lately, I've been using one from Lunar Beauty. I'm not too picky. I just like it to be very bouncy and squishy and blend out my product nicely. So with that backstory being said, let's hop into my favorites. My top 3, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, like it was a no-brainer. Numbers 4 through 6, I honestly kind of moved around a few different times. And then 7 through 10, I literally moved around so many times. I'm still not 100% certain about 7 through 10, so just know that those specifically could really be moved around in any direction. The moral of the story is these are my top 10 favorites. I really don't have much more than 10 foundations in my collection already, so these are the ones that I just love the most. I do cycle between them pretty often. I don't stick to just one. I feel like every week I'm using a different one out of these 10. I really don't even add new ones into my collection that often, unless it just really has a description that I feel like is absolutely gonna suit me and has a potential to become a new favorite. I really don't change it up that much. I like what I like, and these are the 10 that are the best for me. Number 10 has been a long favorite for years and years and years. This is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer. I love this. Like I said, I've been using this for years. This one in particular is the shade Fair 1N. If I can give myself a perfect shade description, fair neutral is my description. I love this. It's on more of a pump type applicator. It's a bit more of a watery formula, like it's very liquidy. This is incredibly sheer. Like when you blend it out onto your skin, it literally looks like you're wearing barely anything. So you have to like a skin tint or a tinted moisturizer in order to like this, because it's not going to give you crazy coverage. But I feel like for me, it just kind of balances out what my skin is doing a bit better and just gives it a good kind of soft, glowy sort of feel. It has a little bit of a soft glow. It's not overly dewy in my opinion, but it does have a bit of like a hydrated looking sheen behind. It's really, really pretty. Been using it for years. I love it. Number 9 is my only full coverage foundation in the mix. This is the e.l.f. Camo Hydrating CC Cream. They do make a matte version of this as well, but as we've already discussed, I detest matte. I actually tried, I think, 2 full coverage matte foundations that I got in PR last year, and both of them were like the worst things I've ever tried because it just does not work for my skin type. This one's in the shade Fair 120N. This one again is gonna be more full coverage, so it's a little bit thicker compared to like the ColourPop one, but I feel like it still blends out and has a really nice sort of glowy vibe to it. It's really, really pretty. Also, don't judge like any of the shades in this like very concentrated swatch. It's always gonna look overkill on my hand in a big glob like this, but just so you can kind of see, it's a lot thicker, but still has that glow behind. And I don't feel like, even though it's described as dewy, it's not so dewy full coverage that it's like sloshing off of your face. I feel like it stays put really well, but it just leaves behind that really pretty, soft, dewy sort of glow. It's really, really pretty. Again, it's the only full coverage foundation that I own. So I feel like that's saying something because I am just not into full coverage, but this one just doesn't feel nasty. And honestly, I feel like for me, if I use just a little bit of it, I can kind of make it work more as a medium, which I do prefer. And also, on any given day, I will wear these all by themselves, but I also have no problem in mixing in like extra moisturizer or a liquid highlighter or just something glowy. I like to customize depending on my mood, but I do love all of these standalone as well. Moving on to number 8, I'm giving it to the Glossier Stretch Fluid Foundation. I really like this one. Mine is in the shade Very Light 1. This one's in a pump as well. This one I would describe as probably a solid medium. If I use a little bit of it, I can probably get away with it being a little bit more of a light, but it has a really soft kind of natural satin look. I don't feel like for me this is overly dewy, but it's also not like not either. It's kind of in the middle. And again, just depending on how much I use, I feel like it's anywhere between a light to a medium. Really, really pretty. I feel like this gives me a very just soft complexion because it's, again, not overly dewy, but it's not like just flat satin either. It just makes my skin look very smooth and pretty, but because it's not insane full coverage either, I feel like it still looks like skin. It's really, really nice. And I feel like it also just stays put really well. It's not ever gonna like just melt off of your face or anything for me. And I love it. Number 7 is another Glossier one. This is the Glossier Skin Tint. It is so good. This is also very liquidy. I also don't know what the shade is because my label is rubbed off, but I'm pretty sure it's also whatever number 1 is in Glossier's range, that's what this is. This one is in more of a squeezy bottle, and similar to ColourPop, this one's gonna be a lot more like liquidy, watery. It's gonna be very sheer. I don't even feel like you can build this up to light. It is just super sheer. And again, it's just gonna give the skin a bit of balance. It's gonna give it that glow and that kind of nourished feeling. I love wearing this on days that I don't necessarily want a lot. I just want a little something. Like skin tints like this that are super sheer and just glowy, these are my go-to in the spring and summer, especially here in Florida when it is nasty outside. I cannot stand the idea of wearing like a lot of foundation, so something like this is just perfect. But I even wear this like now that it's winter. I'll just wear it depending on my mood. But it's just so pretty. I love the shine behind it. I feel like I like this one more than the ColourPop one, just because I feel like the sheen behind it is just more my speed. Again, it's not so insanely glowy that it just looks like you put highlighter on your face, but it does have just that really nice kind of healthy looking glow. Moving on to number 6, I'm giving it to my Salt New York Sneaky Balm Skin Tint. This is actually a brand spanking new one, never been touched before other than me nicking it, getting out of the box. This is whatever the lightest shade in the range is. I think it's N13, I believe. But this is so pretty. It's my second one and it's so good. This one is more of a balm texture and it's not gonna give you an insane amount of coverage. Again, it is like a solid balm, like tinted moisturizer sort of thing. It's just gonna give your skin a little bit of balance. I feel like it does have more coverage than like the ColourPop and Glossier ones in my opinion, especially because with the brush, you can really kind of control how little or how much you want. And I feel like no matter how much of this I apply, it never looks cakey. It never looks overkill. I really enjoy this balmy texture. It's just so pretty. I feel like it has a really nice kind of natural luminous glow to it. It is so pretty. Salt New York's products, I feel like, are just so good and they're very underrated. I feel like more people need to know about them. And I'm really happy with this. I love their concealer as well. I love their like contour product. They have a new mood lighting kind of blushy, highlighter-y type product that's really pretty. But their foundation is probably honestly my favorite product from them. I just think it's so good. Moving on to my top 5 now. I think I'm pretty certain about this. I'm confident in that. Number 5, I'm giving to my Rare Beauty Positive Light Tinted Moisturizer. This is in the shade 10N. It is so pretty. I'm actually getting really low at this now that I'm like holding it up and I can like see it in the light. I'm gonna have to repurchase this at some point soon. But it's also in like a bottle type applicator. And again, because it's in this more like liquidy tinted moisturizing type product, it is going to be a bit more like watery. As you can see, it's not as like firm, but I do feel like this one is more of a light coverage rather than a sheer coverage like the Glossier one and the ColourPop ones I'd mentioned earlier. I feel like, again, it also depends on how much you use. If you use a very small amount or build it up, I feel like it's anywhere between sheer to light. I love this. I think it has just the most beautiful kind of, again, sort of natural luminous sort of feeling, and it's very comfy. Doesn't feel heavy at all. Really, none of these feel heavy, even the full coverage one I mentioned earlier, because it has that dewy component. It just doesn't feel heavy to me. I love the way it blends out. It just makes my skin look so just nourished and happy and just so pretty. I feel like, again, on days that I really just don't want a lot, but I want a little something, but maybe a little more of something than the Glossier skin tint, this is something I would go for. It's just so pretty. I've worn this so many times and I'm always very happy with it. Number 4, I decided to give to my Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint. This is so pretty. I am very excited about it. I'm gonna have to replace this one at some point as well. This one is in the shade Rendezvous, I believe is what it's called. ST1. I'm actually going to check Sephora really quick and see if that's the shade that I would have picked myself, because they did send this to me as PR. And sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not accurate. Okay, so they sent me, yeah, Rendezvous ST1. This is extra light with cool undertones. If I had to repurchase it myself, which I probably will at some point, I would get Sky ST 0.5 extra light with neutral undertones, because I do favor more of a neutral, but because this is a little bit more of like that light coverage sort of tinted moisturizer, I can get away with it being off slightly with an undertone. But I do still love this. It's in this like dropper sort of thing. Very liquidy again, very liquidy sort of skin tint sort of thing. Yeah, you can see this one's much pinkier than the other ones I talked about. But once it's blended out, I really can't tell much of a difference. But it's very pretty. Again, just kind of that natural luminous sort of feel. I know I'm repeating myself these last couple ones, but that's why they're my favorites. They all have similar personality types. This one is a little bit runnier in the way that it's a little more customizable, I feel like, to be like sheer to light depending on how much you use. It's very comfy, again, just very lightweight, really pretty. I do feel like maybe this one has a little bit more dew than the Rare Beauty one, and that's why I favor it a little bit more. But yeah, it's just good. It's just good. I can't keep repeating the same exact adjectives. I like these all for very similar reasons. Ooh, the top 3. The top 3 are so good. I love these so much. So first being the Merit foundation stick. I love this. This is so good. I used to love foundation sticks back in the day, but I feel like traditional foundation sticks from years ago, they were all very full coverage. And then as I started to not favor full coverage, I stopped really using foundation sticks. And then they sent this to me last year. I was a little nervous, but no, this is absolute perfection. It is so good. This is in the shade Bone. Again, this is not the shade I would have bought myself. Again, it works. I can make it work for me because it's not that intense full coverage, but I will tell you the shade that I would have. I guess this is considered a foundation and concealer stick. The more you know. So yeah, this is the shade Bone and it's Fair Cool. I would myself probably buy Linen Fair Neutral, but it's so good. I feel like this has a really nice kind of really light to medium coverage depending on how much you use. It is so buildable and blendable and just soft, and it has a very just natural sheen to it. It makes my skin look so smooth, but it still has that kind of lit from within sort of thing going on. I feel like my glowy products can still like shine really nicely in conjunction with it. It blends like a dream. I just love this one. It's just such a beautiful stick product without it looking like so thick and so overkill. It is so pretty. Number 2, like the Merit one. These both came into my life last year and I love them. They quickly became top favorites. This is the Soft Glam Satin Foundation from e.l.f. and it is incredible. Mine's in the shade 11 Fair Neutral. It is so pretty. This one, honestly, I debated putting as number 1, but number 1 really just took the cake. I wore the number 1 pick again today and it just solidified that. But this one is going to be your kind of medium buildable. Again, I feel like for me, it can be anywhere from light to medium depending on how much you use. I just love this. It has a really nice sort of just natural glowy satin sort of look to it. It is so beautiful. I feel like the way it blends onto the skin is just so seamless. It always just looks so pretty. It sits so nicely. Other products play so well with it. This was actually a very divisive foundation last year. I feel like people that tried it either loved it or they hated it. I was in the boat of I loved it. I just think it's so pretty. It blends and just looks so beautiful. I love the finish, everything about it. It's just so good. I love that it's very customizable where I can go a little bit heavier with it or a little bit lighter just depending on my mood. No matter what, that finish is going to be just so pretty and like a very natural luminous sort of look. It's just too good, too good. And number 1, if you've been here for a while, you probably already know what my pick is, but it is still the Urban Decay Hydromaniac Tinted Glow Hydrator. This is amazing. Again, like I mentioned before, I'm wearing it today. It's just so good. It's been my favorite for a few years now, and nothing has yet to beat it. I mean, this one potentially almost beat it out, but this one still just holds so true. When I put it on today, it was just like, yeah, how could I have ever doubted that this was my favorite? This one's in the shade Fair 20. It is so pretty. I just love it. It's, again, in a little bit more of a squeezy tube. I feel like squeezy tubes are just my favorite. I'm realizing just based on what I have. It's a little bit lighter of a texture. Again, a little bit runnier. Not as runny as some of those skin tints that I mentioned earlier, but definitely a little bit on the thinner side. This is going to be anywhere from light to medium buildable in my opinion, again, just depending on how much you use. I love that customization with it. Again, just that natural luminous sort of glow where it's not like so slicky dewy, but it's also not going to be like flat looking. I feel like this just has so much pretty dimension. I feel like anything I layer on top of it always plays so nicely. It's just my favorite, my tried and true favorite. Has been for years now and remains that way. It's just forever so good. It makes me feel so pretty. I never have issues with it. Really, all 10 of these, I never have issues. I feel like we've all been there where like you're putting on your foundation and it's worked every day the last few weeks, but then that one particular day, it just sits wrong. I feel like I've never had that issue with any of these 10. And I love that. So yes, that is the rundown of my top 10 foundations. I really hope you liked this video. I hope you're excited that this series is back. I'll be over the next like weeks, maybe couple months, I will be going through various categories in my collection and sharing with you my top 10. I hope you're excited and along for the journey. If you don't want me to do this, I guess let me know so I can not do it. But I do like doing these kinds of videos, just kind of really recapping on my top favorites, things that have either crept into my life more recently or things that have stood the test of time. Either way, these are my favorites and I would love to hear your thoughts. Do we have similar preferences to foundations? Do you also love and cherish these? Do we have any top favorites in common? I would love to know. And leave your favorite foundations below. If you have a lot, you can leave 10. If you have just a couple, you can leave like 1 or 2. What are your favorites? I would love to know, and I'm sure everyone else would love to know as well. If you made it to the end of this video, I don't know. Why don't you leave a fruit emoji? Why not? And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram on BATTYBEAN there as well. And you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. And also you can hop over to my second channel linked in my description box if you want some additional content. And also in my description box is a link to my channel memberships. There's a couple different tiers with a couple different perks and I would love to have you. Thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.